Hi, my name is Carla Moore, and I am a Jamaican student living in Canada for school. And this is my body narrative about accents. So, the first thing that you should probably know is that I have a very squeaky chair. And so, if you hear a strange noise, it is the chair, but my chair is very comfortable and I refuse to part of it. The second thing, well, obviously I'm Jamaican and therefore I speak with a Jamaican accent. I also speak with a particular type of Jamaican accent. I was raised in the country, but I moved into Kingston for high school and kind of became a part of the Kingston culture. So I speak with an accent that would probably be more recognized as a middle class accent, or even sometimes an uptown accent in terms of the way that I pronounce my words. Something happened the other day that really got me thinking about this issue of Jamaican accents because I mean I think and talk about Jamaica a lot. I love Jamaica a lot. And so I'm always paying attention to what we say about each other, what people say about us. Sometimes looking for a fight. But we had a Jamaican singer named Tessan Chin and she went on The Voice and she started it up like within 3 seconds everybody turned around, everybody loved her. And then she spoke afterwards. And she spoke with a Jamaican accent. And of course, the judges loved it. And they asked her to repeat the words bread and butter over and over again. You know, it was very exotic what they did with her. It's very exoticizing. But I mean, she knew what she was doing. She had her Jamaican card and she played it and it worked. But people automatically started comparing her to Usain Bolt. Now, I don't know if you know Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt is the fastest man in the world. And he comes from Jamaica. When Usain speaks, sometimes, and he's doing it less now as he grows more comfortable with himself, he used to speak with a twang, which is when you have a Jamaican person who will try to speak with an American accent. So people started criticizing Usain and saying he should be more like Tessan and he should speak more like Tessan because Tessan is being true to her Jamaican roots. And you can understand at a time like this when you have just done something great and this is the moment to say, yes, a Jamaican did this. To hear a Jamaican speaking with a pseudo-American accent can be very troubling. But I don't think people think about why it is that Usain speaks with that accent or why it is that Tessan feels comfortable speaking like herself. Tessan and Usain come from two very different social locations. Tessan is basically Kingstonian, middle class or upper class. Usain is from the country and probably more working class than Tessan is. But aside from the class issue, there is the location issue. In Jamaica, when you're from Kingston, Kingston is the hub of everything, right? So it's the capital of the country. That's where basically all of the business is. That's where the government is. That everything is like centralized in Kingston. And people keep moving in from the country areas into Kingston because that's where all of the opportunities are. When you come from Kingston, you automatically have a type of cultural capital that you don't have when you come from the country, right? I come from the country, so I know. If I did still talk like how I would have spoken without the Kingston influence, some Kingston people would look at me like this. When Kingston people are going to country areas, they don't even say where they're going to. They don't say I'm going to Montego Bay. They don't say I'm going to the Grill. They don't say I'm going to Ocho Rios. They say I'm going to the country because it's just Kingston and country, right? So when you come from Kingston, there's a type of cultural capital, like a currency that you have. Even some country people would rather speak like ghetto Kingstonians than to speak like middle class country people. So Tessan has that behind her. She has that confidence. She also probably has the confidence that she has a pretty firm grasp on English. She's pretty comfortable speaking English. So she doesn't worry about speaking it with a Jamaican accent because she knows that she'll be intelligible to these people. Usain doesn't necessarily feel that type of confidence. He doesn't necessarily feel confident in speaking like himself. But there's also something that we as Jamaicans have done to him where we have given him anxiety about his accent because we have probably decided that this country accent is not pretty, it's not cute, it's not the type of Jamaican accent that we want to hear anybody talk to. So we have actually contributed to this issue where he feels like he has to twang. And the reason that people twang is not that they are foreign minded or it is that they're anti-Jamaican. It's just sometimes when people have anxiety about their ability to speak properly, and I hate that term, speak properly, they feel if they slap a little American on it, even if it doesn't make it sound closer to English, it will make it more stylish and therefore it will make it more acceptable. So I think that as Jamaicans, we need to accept some of the violence that we've done to people who are not Kingstonians or people who speak with a particular type of Jamaican accent that makes them speak that way. And the reason that we do this violence to each other comes back to my favorite thing to talk about, colonialism. Right? Because generally, The Jamaican accents that are lauded and the ones that people find agreeable are the ones that are especially intelligible to um, American, European, Euro American ears. The ones that they don't like are the ones that they think sound too close to African. So it is the ones that they don't think people will easily recognize. Even when you're not speaking Patois, you're speaking English, they don't like it because it's either too guttural or like St. Elizabeth, or they speak too quickly in some instances, like sometimes in St. Mary. It's different ways of speaking that they associate with Africanness. And I think it's something that happens in any hybrid space, especially when you have a mashup of Europe and Africa, is that whatever is associated with Africanness becomes a problem for people. So I vlog. I have a vlog on YouTube, and I do my vlogging primarily in a mix of Patois and English, right? And I get a lot of strife from people who come to me and want to know why it is that I would be so brutish, like almost savage, primitive, why it is that I would dare to speak Patois. Now, I don't know if you know, but Patois is, we're lobbying to have it recognized as a language in Jamaica. It is our Creole that we speak. It does have English words in it. It has some African words. It also has some Spanish influence. It just basically all of the things that have moved across Jamaica through the process of modernity is kind of mashed up into Patois, but it functions differently. For example, in English, you would say a dog and you would say several dogs. We would say you have one dog and then the plural of that is going to be dog them. So we pluralize by adding them. We don't really add s's onto things to pluralize it. So it functions differently from English. Some people still think of it as broken English. They think of it as bad English, and they think of it as something that you really need to get these Jamaican children to stop talking, because it is just proof that they are backward and they will never be able to function in a globalizing world, and all of this type of rhetoric that gets taken up. So I blog in a mix of English and Patois, and people get so upset about it. They couldn't imagine that I would do this and why I would let the world know that Jamaicans talk like this. And they tell me that I sound less intelligent as a result of it, because a smart girl like me shouldn't talk like this, because if I can speak English, why wouldn't I? And it comes back down to colonialism. It's this idea that if you can do better, which means talk English, why would you choose to associate yourself with these backward people? And it's actually become, for me, a personal thing where I refuse. I refuse to stop blogging in Patois because I refuse to have you tell me that anything that my country came up with that is defining my country, and worst of all, anything that came out of an African influence, is bad. I refuse to have you tell me that an African person taking this language that you tried to use to kill all of his culture, mashing it up and spitting it back out at you. I refuse to have you tell me that that is bad. So it's become a point of contention for me, and it's become something that I'm actually fairly politicized around, this need for Jamaican people to embrace their language. I mean, Patois is separate from speaking with a Jamaican accent, but I think both of them are linked in a way, because both of them are kind of definitively Jamaican. So there's also, and I guess being as I'm living in Canada now, it's also something that I need to think about and talk about. Why is it that people would choose to soften their accent, or why is it that people would choose to change their accent entirely, right? Because you do have accent reduction classes that people can take when they come to the country, to teach them how to pronounce their words in a particular way that makes them easier to understand. Like, for example, I would go to the supermarket and I would spend 3 minutes asking this girl for batteries. I need to buy some batteries. Battery. I need to battery. And she's looking at me blankly. And the second that I said, I need to buy batteries, she understands what I'm saying. I don't think that batteries sound so different from battery, especially if I'm pointing at the Duracell over there. But I think a lot of times, if a person approaches you and they have an accent that's not from your country, you assume that you don't know what they're speaking about. You assume that they're asking you for something that's very strange and untoward. And you assume that they're probably not speaking English to you. You assume they're speaking some mishmash of whatever language they speak plus English, and so they cannot understand. And in that way, I have said it before that I think people from the global north, especially the large, powerful countries, are lazy listeners. They're very lazy listeners, and they make up their mind at the outset that they're not going to understand what you're saying to them before they even try. But there are a number of reasons why people choose to modify their accent in different ways, especially when they're living in the diaspora. One of them is that if every day you're talking to people and they don't understand you, and this part of my discussion, I would really hope that the people who judge people who come back home from the diaspora and don't sound like when they left, I really hope that they would listen to this part of what I'm saying, is that if you spend all day talking to people and every other word is, huh? What? Could you say that again? You get tired of it. And you do what you have to do to survive. So sometimes modifying your accent is absolutely a point of trying to survive in this situation that you are in. Another thing is that sometimes it's advantageous. I mean, yes, you will have people who will defiantly hold on to their accent and they will fight and they will never ever let go of it. But at the end of the day, you will have a set of people who have to play the game. And if you need a job, and if that job is in a call center, you are going to need to get your accent to a point where the lazy listeners who are calling into the call center are going to understand what you're saying. Anything that is customer service based, you are almost definitely going to be asked to modify your accent. And a lot of time people will decide that they're going to do it because it helps them to climb the ladder and it helps them to make the life for themselves that very often they come to these foreign countries to try to make for themselves. The larger issue is that they are asked to make these decisions. The issue is not that this person makes this choice. It's that this is a choice that this person has to make about their accent. And it's the accent as a marker of culture. It's the fact that you are asked to do away with these different parts of your culture, even in countries that claim to be multicultural, in order for you to survive here. So it's a larger issue, and I don't think that we should personalize it and put it on the person and say that, oh, they've sold out somehow or they betrayed their country somehow. There are any number of reasons that people might modify their accents. There are reasons that people twang. In Jamaica, people twang because they think that if I cannot sound British, aka speak standard English, then I will sound the next best thing to British, and the next world power there is America. So I will sound American, and it will give me a type of capital. And in a way, it does. In the tourist areas, a lot of people twang, and the tourists might not necessarily think that they are American, but they certainly think that they're a type of jovial, fun-loving Jamaican, and they will want to speak to them more than they want to speak to Jamaican who doesn't sound like that, because that person sounds a little bit more like them. They're trying to say that they want a can of pop instead of saying they want a can of soda, these types of things. So there are reasons, and a lot of them are survival based, why people change things and do things with their accent. The one thing that I would ask anybody who is listening to my narrative right now is, the next time that somebody opens their mouth to speak and you think you don't understand them, just wait 2 seconds. Let what they said to you soak in for 2 seconds before you ask them to repeat themselves. Just for a moment, imagine that they are asking you for something that somebody from your own community would be asking you for. Look around you and figure what they might be asking you for before you make this decision that you don't understand them. And this is especially if the person is not white and you are a white person, because very often I find that if somebody came to you and said, "Can I have a cup of water? I really like to drink water," you would figure out what water is, especially if it's coming out of somebody who is inside of a white body. But if I come to you and say, "I need a cup of water," you're going to look at me blankly like you don't know what I'm saying, and it's because this is coming out of my black body, and my body makes me unintelligible to you in a way. So if there's one thing I would ask out of this whole thing that I've done, is change your own narrative about who is intelligible to you and who is not intelligible to you. And when people take certain decisions regarding their accent, understand the pressure that they're under to make those decisions and make those choices. And when you hear a person doing something that you think is politically incorrect with their accent, or selling out or betraying themselves with their accent, just think, is colonialism at work here? So thank you for listening. I am Carla Moore. You can find my information in my bio. As I said, I'm a blogger and a vlogger and all types of things. And yeah, this is my accent.